Peace and blessings, family. My name is Jay, and today I want to talk to you guys today about the four elements in astrology. The four elements being water, earth, air, fire. And so, with that being said, I'm gonna put all of them into this one video, and and in no random order. I'm just gonna we pick one of them to start with, and this one we'll do fire. We'll start with fire. So, what does the fire element deal with? Fire element deals with creative self-expression, more and more so. But the fire deals with creative self-expression, deals with our creativity and our imagination. It also deals with our. It also deals with independence and and force and aggression and all that. It's one of our masculine elements, and which are the elements that deal with expression. Fire. There's fire and air. Fire is the one that does it more so with the body, and, and which tells you by default that it deals with the feelings and gut feelings, impulses, and hunches, and all that it catches. Well, since we talk about villains, we talk about people that they catch, and then air does it more so through what they are, thinking, and then what the thinking gets communicated, does it through the throat. This is why they say, when we know that, this is why they say words are swords, because certain words you say can, you know, certain words that you say and certain actions they all have consequences, but ultimately the actions that you, uh, the actions that you take and the words that you speak, are not only come from you, but they also let those outside of where where you are coming from. But anyway, moving on. Yeah, so fire deals with our creative self-expression, our imagination, our force, our physical force, aggression, drive, and all of that. And, and yeah, so add more, depth to it. The elements that the signs that fall under this element are Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. And Aries is cardinal fire. Cardinal does initiating, creating, and Aries, like we say, Aries is fire. So Aries is creating their. Aries creates. Aries is the sign that likes to create and initiate um, their, own ways of being self-expressive. Their own ways of being, um, their own ways of being, their own ways of being forceful. Their own ways of being driven, passionate, etc. You know, and then Leo is fixed fire. Leo is fixed fire. And so Leo deals with being fixated on their own way of being creatively self-expressive. And then there's Sagittarius, and Sagittarius is mutable, and Sagittarius deals with multiple different ways of being creatively self-expressive and imaginative, whether it's their own imagination or whether it's being open to others' imaginations, because that's a mutable element, a mutable modality deals with. So yeah. Just given the nature of what fire deals with, what's the kind of issues that fire element tends to run into. One major issue, having too much energy. Two, from and actually the first one can kind of explains all the other ones. The second one, because fire deals with the self, being too selfish. Third one, being too forceful. And it goes on and on and on. And usually this is the feedback that fire will get from other people, and it's not so. And how it's used, naturally for people with the fire element, how it's naturally taken is as the person's trying to tell them to, not be them. And to an extent, with that, that's intuition. That kind of deals with our intuition, thought, and all that. And to an extent, the person who is on the defensive is right, but it's more so that and this is only after you experience the feedback and all that, and actually experience what they're talking about when they say this. But ultimately what's really being said is that they just want you to, when it comes to the fire element, because they naturally have to be creative and imaginative and self-expressive and all that. With people who truly, and these are the kind of people I'm talking about, with people who truly care about them, are saying they give them this feedback. It's to just, be patient, learn to just sit back and receive at times, go with the flow, so that you don't always have to feel like you have to always put all your energy into one thing. Um, one thing or multiple things or even yourself, because that's what they all deal with. But yeah, anyway, the fire element just has to learn to deal with, the balance out their energy. Is to just learn to share some of that energy, with others. If it's in relationships, learn to share more of it with others so that they get spotlight too. If it's with a project, learn to stay focused on that one project that they may be creating. And if it's a if it's a place, just learn to take a just learn to take a seat back at home or something, some at wherever, and not always have to be worried about getting from to a certain place and just chill. So yeah, that that yeah, and that'll be my take with the fire element. But let's move on now and talk about water. So what does water element deal with? Water element deals with pretty much everything a fire deals with, but it deals with it more from an water kind of deals with what fire deals with, but since it's like the opposing element, it does it in the opposing way, where fire, expresses and puts out, water, kind of like suppresses, and water like suppresses or represses. So many different terms you can use, and likes to, become intimate with the feelings and vibes and all that they're catching, so that they can really understand where they're coming from. So yeah, water deals with our inner creativity, inner imagination, inner our inner dreams. It also deals with being compassionate and relatable and empathetic, empathic, and all that. So yeah, these this is the element that this is the element that deals with the other realms, the realms where um this is the element that deals with the other realms of realities, because anybody that's lived here for longer than their teenage years knows that there's not just the physical. But anyway, back to what I was saying. This is the element that deals with the vibes that they're catching, whether it's from a person that they're around, a place that they're in, or a thing that they may be focused on. And based upon that vibe that these people would be getting, they either attach to that or detach from that. So, um, with that being said, the signs that fall under this element. Oh, and then another thing to add: this is the element more so than any other elements that deals with going with the flow. So yeah. Now, with that being said, there's can't the signs that fall under this element are Cancer. Cardinal water likes to initiate and create based off of the vibe. Um, uh, Oh, another thing that just came in, and that I forgot to add, water also deals with receptivity and sensitivity as well. But yeah, and then back to the signs. Yeah, this Cancer likes to initiate, create, based off of the vibes and what they're receiving. And then there's Scorpio, which is fixed water. It's fixated, it's fixated upon, the unseen realms, that which is not being, that which isn't, being said or done, but more so like the energy, the energy and intent behind it. That's what Scorpio deals with more so than any of the other signs. I mean, the other water signs, because Scorpio is like the psychologist of the water signs. But anyway, um, and then there's Pisces, which is mutable water, which is which deals with being able to understand multiple different vibes that that they are catching, multiple different emotions and feelings that they're catching, multiple different things that they're receiving and being sensitive to, whether it's in the place that they're around, and the place that they're in, the people that they're around, or the thing that they are attached to. And yeah, so like with fire, there's always the feedback and the problem that tends to happen. And since we talked about fire, and we're gonna get to it. Since the water element likes to go with the flow and be passive a lot, what usually happens here, you never know when to initiate and attach to things. And so on the outside looking in, naturally that's the feedback and constructive criticisms they're gonna get. You gotta stop, you gotta stop being so passive. You gotta take, action. You gotta use more, aggression, more force. Gotta utilize more fire, not so much to sacrifice the water, but to balance it out. What is your fire without your water without your fire. You get it? And so yeah, yeah, you'll catch me talking about the like criticism, feedback, and all that. And it's always to balance it out, not so much to sacrifice. So yeah, um, that's ultimately what water would deal with. Catching that vibe, understand what that vibe is talking about, understanding and understanding, which leads to understanding what those vibes are catching are about, and then expressing that, whether it's through the actual body, which is what fire deals with, Or if you're not a person who likes to be really physical, it could also be through the throat, which is what air deals with. So yeah, just learn to um, take the action of attaching, and to attach to something is this kind of deal anyway. To attach to something, take action towards attaching to something is what the fire deals with. Now, yeah, that's gonna be my take on the water element. Just learn to utilize that fire, and then the next element that we want to talk about, the earth element. What does earth element deal with? Earth element deals with practicality, security, stability, routine, organizing, the five senses: seeing, tasting, touching, hearing, and smelling. Excuse me. And it also and just in general, it deals with this realm of reality, 3D, Earth, everything that you can, and which is one of the main five senses, everything that you can see. So that's what, that's why this is the people who are of this element. And that's why you hear them say a lot, "Oh, I don't see it, I don't believe it." In other words, seeing is believing. So with that being said, yeah. Uh, what's because uh, okay, okay. Now for the signs that fall under this element, the signs that fall under this element are Taurus, which is fixed Earth, Virgo, mutable Earth, and Capricorn, cardinal Earth. So since Taurus is fixed Earth, we know Taurus is the sign we know Taurus is the pool. Taurus is the sign that's fixated upon everything that deals with material around. It's fixated upon being stable. You know, uh, fixated on, no, not so much fixated upon, but fixated fixated on ways of being stable and secure. In Virgo, um, deals with multiple different ways of being stable and secure, whether it's ideas which they create about that within themselves or other people's input and ideas. And then there's Cardinal, which is Cardinal doesn't deal with either fixed or immutable. Cardinal's like, screw that. I'm gonna create my own, ways of being stable, secure, practical and routine and all that. Which is why, and when it comes to Capricorns in particular, this is why Capricorns are like, that's why they call, this is why Capricorn is known as the business sign, the zodiac, and the business head, and all that. So, yeah. And now stating all that I just explained with Earth element, what now knowing all that, you can tell that these are the signs these are signs that deal with materials and materialistic heat. You can be and can also be hedonistic, but ultimately this is the element that deals with experiencing life through the five senses in a nutshell. And actually, and because they experience life through the five senses, that's where the focus usually is, and what you're focused on is what you're attached to. What usually happens, and this kind of goes back to being, extremely materialistic and can be hedonistic. And there's multiple different ways to explain that. Explain all that. What's the natural feedback and criticism that's going to be received from outside of them? Oh, you're too materialistic. Oh, you're too hedonistic. Oh, you're too attached to all that stuff, all the things that you possess and own, value that's around you, but within in your view and all that. And like always, it's always going to seem as like it's an attack or something. But the truth of the matter is, they're just teaching you to become more. The truth of the matter is, it's always being taught to become more, mutable, more flexible, and also on another level, also more cardinal, kind of more like water and fire. Learn to go with the flow, but also, detaching and attaching, which deals with, kind of cardinal, like which is like initiating, creating something new, doing something different, which is also how it's mutable too. But anyway, let me not get too lost in all that. What's ultimately being said here for people to give them the feedback is, to just there's the emotional attachment that you have to these people, places, and things, because we know what the physical experiences that we have down here, the uh the usually in our earlier years, the attachments that we had to the people, places, and things around us are very strong, because we're still new to this world, but ultimately we start to experience certain things. Say we lose a family member, or we move away, things like that, and we're so, or not even family members, certain houses or surroundings, and then say we move around, we move away from all that, because depending on how emotionally attached we are to it, it will will show just how much, will show just how it'll make that experience be that much more traumatic, and because it's traumatic, it'll be hard to let go of that, in our psyche, things to do with our subconscious, our emotions and feelings. which is what water deals with. And so that's naturally why they say, and that's naturally why the feedback could be, not, like, I think I only said you're too materialistic, but it's like you're too materialistic at times. You need to let go of the grip you have. Okay, I did say that. And that's why they say you're too materialistic. You gotta let go of the grip you have to the people, places, and things around you. They can't always be around to service you and baby you all the time. Doesn't mean that they won't come back, but you gotta learn to be on your own sometimes and be strong. So, yeah. And Earth, the Earth element. And this is something I deal with too because I'm a Taurus. But anyway, Earth element deals with uh, not Earth element. We already explained that. More so, Earth element just needs to learn to let go. And water can definitely help teach them that. Water signs teach any of the Earth signs that, regardless of which one it is. Fire signs can also teach them that too, and air can also tell them that too. So yeah, especially with Virgo, because Virgo's like it's like Virgo's it's an Earth sign too. Virgo, if you know about Virgos are more like they're Earth sign, but they kind of function like an air sign to an extent with what they got going on a deeper level. People who like people who got a lot of Virgo, people who are familiar with Virgos, whether they're Virgos themselves or no Virgos or all that, and you know what I'm talking about. But anyway, yeah, that's my take on the Earth element. Just learn to let go of those things that you're attached to, or, around you, and more so like the internal emotional attachment you have to them. Yeah, yeah. Thank you for that, spirit. Thank you. And last but not least, air. Oh boy. Well, what does air element deal with? Air element deals with the air element deals with our ability to think, communicate, be rational, and also being relatable, and also being analytical, which also can deal with being critical. And I don't know if I said that. I think I did say it. It deals with the thinking. It deals with thinking. Hey, repetition is the key to mastery, they say. So with that being said, let's move on to the signs that fall under this element. And the signs that fall under this element are Gemini, mutable air, multiple different ways of thinking, whether it's within one's own ideas that they create within themselves, or whether it's being open to other people's ways of thinking and ideas outside of them. And then there's Libra, which is cardinal air, initiating, creating their own ways of thinking and being relatable through their communication and what they and their ideas and all that. This is also and because of that, this is the sign, and not only that, so Libra's and then Libra is the mediator sign of the zodiac. So I forget what I was gonna add here, but yeah, for the most part, yeah, Libra deals with that. Libra deals with initiating their own communicating to and all that, and being analytical. And then while let me talk about this to make air also what is, and then air also deals with and when it comes to people, it also deals with the clouds. So most of the time people using the clouds, they're usually not down here. So another thing I want to say, that's why air people are, you can because they're so always in the mind, which is like since air deals with the mind, and which is kind of like our like our own clouds within our like there's like I it's like you ever get like that feeling where you know how to where you know what you're like thinking and feeling but don't know how to put it out. That's what's going on here. But yeah, since tends to be in the clouds, that by default air people can be able to see things from a when it comes to like intelligence, logic, and all that. They're able to see, and that's also what air does too. They're able to see certain situations from a higher perspective by default. So that's another thing. And that's why, and this is kind just explain this a little bit. That's why I wanted to say that's this is why Libras can help be mediators, or are also able to be good at being mediators. Any of the air signs are though. Yeah, and then moving on to Aquarius. Aquarius is fixed air, which is the sign that's fixated upon their own ways of just fixated, if not even their own ways, just simply fixated upon ways of being logical and communicating, also being analytical and rational, and um, mentally intelligent and all that kind of stuff. And so yeah, that's what the air element deals with. Our thinking mind, the mental mind, and that's also where people of this element experience their life through. And yeah, when it comes to the air element, what tends to happen here? Because people are just such mental geniuses, very intellectual, um, intellectual, intellectual initiate, intellectual initiators and all that. So many ways to look at this or put this out there. What tends to happen? They tend to be very strong in the head, but where there's a strength, there's always a weakness. Something's left out in the cold, not being attended to, and like I always say, this comes through, this comes through feedback. And what tends to happen is that, people be like, man, like, wow, you got like no, like you got no soul, got like no emotions, you got like no vibes, things like that. Like you're really closed off, detached, unavailable, shit like that. And to an extent, this is true because of where the main focus is at is usually in the head. The focus usually cannot, because that's what air deals when people this element. That's what they deal with. They don't have the time to be dealing with matters of the heart a lot of the time. Not because they don't care, but that's simply not. It's not because they don't care, which is usually how it's seen or how it's going to be seen regardless. But it's because they don't specialize in that area of life. Anything that deals with the feelings, the heart. And so it always brings you to the next point. So if none of it makes if none of it what else if none of it was making if it sounds confusing earlier, now it makes sense now. Since air deals with the head, what naturally needs to happen in order to make a process of integration and balance and just you know self mastery, become more intimate with what they're feeling and not just trying to rationalize and say that they shouldn't be feeling that and come up with all kinds of ideas and reasons for why they shouldn't be, because feelings are there for a reason, and water and fire knows this, and then that's going to bring me to the other point. That's going to bring me to another point in a minute. And so when basically what Aaron needs to do here is like when when those feelings come up, be like, if it's a bad feeling, be like, I'm feeling this for a reason. I'm not going to neglect that. Now it's not. Maybe okay, so I know I'm catching a bad vibe. Okay, so I'm catching a bad vibe. Where is it coming from? Be like, okay, I need to get away from that, regardless of what's person, place, or thing. If it's a good one, be like, okay, I need to attach to that, and same thing with person, place, or thing. But since that's the feelings that's being caught, that's what needs to be. Why am I catching this feeling? I know what kind of feeling it is. Why am I catching this feeling? Okay, I need to have my mind in alignment with that feeling I'm catching, and and doing that. That's how you integrate the head with the heart. You know, making your mind understand what the heart is saying, and if you're a watery person, fiery person, making make your body and your thoughts. It's ultimately the same thing either way. Learn to make your your thoughts, your mind, and all that thinking be in alignment with what you're feeling, which what you're feeling, and then learn to make. And like if it was air in the mind, if it was air in the mind, learn to make your thoughts correlate to what your body is saying. So that's like the axis between earth, air, fire, and water. Uh, I think I got the point across. So yeah, this would be my take on the four elements, you guys. I'm sure you guys have plenty to add, and it'll be appreciated because I don't know everything, you know, I'm here to learn just as much as everybody else. I'm a teacher, but I'm always learning too. So yeah, with that being said, if you guys like this video, feel free to give a like. It's always appreciated. Or a comment. It's all up to you. And yeah. With that being said, I'm gonna get up out of here. I'll talk to you guys later. I love y'all. Peace.